All right, everyone, we are getting ready to stream. We should be on live. Of course, it says Minecraft yet again. We need someone to fix this. I need to do a stream that's asking for help. Because people are nice like that. They are. They're nice like that. All right, hello everyone. Welcome to another book club stream. I'm going to try to make sure I have all the chats here available. We're going to take a big drink because we are going to be doing some chatting up. Disable streamer mode. We don't need that. All right. So, is this not working? I still don't know where everything is. Like, I scroll too fast. I think I need to increase the sensitivity. All right, I am in the VC. Fantastic. All right, so we are going to be talking about Demeter's chapter today. That is what chapter is that? Let's see. I think was it 96 or something? We are on Demeter this time. So we're going to go to page 90. Now, if you are missing the information, I'm looking for all the info for book club right now. Wow, the chat's been busy. Almost there, I feel like. No, apparently I can't find it at all. All right, so it is in the pins. I'm also going to put here Discord links, and I'm going to put in the regular set of links. That's just link. It's links. Oh, no, link works too. It says test. That's funny. All right, so Demeter. Actually, before we do that, we're going to take an opportunity to thank our patrons who allow us to have these really cool. If you're in the server, you can see my name in the chat is like gold and like color. And then we also have our boosters, our Twitch subscribers, and our patrons who have the fun holographic colors as a big thank you. And thank you to all our patrons as well, because our boosters allow us to have those cool icons next to the member names that we switch out every month to match the deity that we are honoring. And although this month is Athena's month, today we're talking about Demeter. And this book is Modern Witchcraft with the Greek Gods. It is in our library that is free to all of our Discord members. You just have to join the Discord. There is a waiting period of about, I think it's like minimum 1 day, but it usually takes about 2-ish because we alternate doing the gate. The gate is a manual process so that we can make sure to protect the community with real human eyes. All right. If you don't have a drinky drink or a snacky snack, now is the time. And it's going to be interesting talking about Demeter. Actually, this kind of went in a different direction than I thought this was going to go. I thought this was going to focus on the aspect of like growth, of the aspect of like the earth and how change happens, and it's all part of like, and that is as it was said so very well in True Blood. Just because we understand it doesn't mean it's not magic, and I fucking love that phrase because there was probably there was a long period of time where people were like, all right, if I give this thing water and sunlight, it will grow. But like now we understand things like photosynthesis, we understand things like rotating crops, because we understand that the soil gets used up of all these minerals, as opposed to back when they were just like, why is shit not growing here anymore? All right, well, I guess we just better leave this bit of plot alone for a while. Like, I don't know. And now we know the science behind it, but that's not where this went. So like, I really interested in that. So I am over. People in the Discord server can't see because I only have one camera and I'm streaming. But if you want to jump on to Twitch or YouTube, then you'll be able to actually see me in person. I'm gonna give those links in here in a second. I'm just gonna give the main beacons link, which has all the links. Oh no, of course I didn't go to the whole thing. So we're gonna have an interesting time today. As you see, I've already gone and highlighted some portions. And if you want to bring up the book for yourself or want to download it for yourself to catch up or move forward with us, either way, you can find the download link for the book in the pins of the book club channel in the Discord. Again, free to access. And a big thank you, since I'm mentioning that, to our resource committee. All of the library is organized with tags, with like a basic idea of like beginner or advanced level, whether something is a scholarly article or it's just like high level information. Because like, dudes, the first book club we ever did was Greek Religion by Robert Burkert, and that thing is scholarly as fuck, and I could not get through it. Like, we had to end up abandoning the book because it was so dense. Like, every chapter was like a 2.5 hour conversation. So make sure to go grab the book. And we're gonna be starting off. Again, disclaimer, I'm 35, weed is legal in my neck of the woods, but I also have chronic pain, so. Whoop. So, Demetis is a goddess of plants, of agriculture, very most specifically grain. Her name, which is sometimes synonymous, is sometimes synonymous with a loaf of bread, is the combination of the Greek word earth and mother, so da meter. Okay. You have to make sure fire safety is over here. So Greece had poor soil and grain was considered the most basic necessity for survival. The Greeks made offerings to Demeter to survive blights, droughts, and pests. She's often portrayed as a seated woman with rich golden hair and color of ripe grain. The color of ripe grain. She wears a dark robe and holds a scepter of poppy flower and a sheaf of grain. Her animal is the pig, but you can also turn into a horse. I did not know that. I didn't know that. Wait, are we doing Demeter? Demeter or Apollo? No, Demeter. Wait, why is this not? Okay, let's see here. Is this the most updated? I can't remember. I thought we were on. Yeah, I think we're on Demeter. All right, so Demeter is thought to have originated in the Bronze Age. So Demeter, like, there are a few of the deities that didn't show up at the same time as like the rest of the pantheon. Dionysus is one. Demeter, I guess, is another. So she was worshipped as a mother goddess, or like nature itself, which parallels the myth of Demeter, the seasonal myth where Demeter of the and that of the Mesopotamian goddess Deter, who searched for her son after he was taken to the underworld. So we have very similar stories here. One is going after their son. Deter is going after their son. Demeter wants Persephone back, right? There's a very much of a parallel. So it's unknown exactly when Demeter arrived in Greece. Also, I love that it says Demeter arrived in Greece, because I just picture her like Cusco from like, what's it called? From Emperor's New Groove, which is just go like, all right, I'm here, and I brought the food. Like, perfect. I need Demeter in a Cusco outfit, and just have the note on here for like 1400 BCE. Like, I need that. So according ancient records place Demeter at Eleusis, her most powerful sanctuary site, at around 1400 BCE, which is when the first field of wheat was planted. Very interesting. Also, I'm interested as to how they know that was when the first wheat was planted. I assume it has something to do with the soil, maybe some remnants of food that they found somewhere. I don't know, but honestly, I would have loved to know more about that. Like, let's be real. All right. Um, Plutos, the generous god of wealth, Hades, also known for the gold of grain underground. Remember, Hades is in charge of everything below the earth, right? That includes, is not limited to the underworld. It includes, I'm trying to shut this off again. It includes gems, it includes gold, everything that is under like the crust of the earth, like the very top of the crust. So Zeus and Demeter, apparently Zeus pursued Demeter while they were horses. And that was the story of how Kore, which is Persephone, the goddess of flowers, was born. Their union may have been a reference of how fertile rains and lightning, blessings from Zeus, right, fertilize and help the crops in the fields grow. So remember, as I was saying, that like they didn't necessarily always, like, they didn't necessarily understand the science behind it, right, as we do now. But just because we understand it does not mean that it is not still magic, right? Also, I just realized there's no like lo-fi shit on the stream here. There we go. So, the story about Demeter and Kore was also part of the Elysian mystery rituals. Elysian mysteries are one of my favorite holidays of the year, just because they're so mysterious and you can do whatever the fuck you want, right? So eventually she found maidens at a well who told her about a royal baby who needed care, and as like basically like a grieving mother, she went to take care of the baby, and after speaking with the babe's mom, and accepting a drink of barley water, Demeter, they were very hospitable. So Demeter was showing up not as the goddess, but as this old woman, right? Just like a regular old woman. And she was like, I'll take care of your kid for you. Like, I'm gonna help you because your kid is like having some growth problems. And like, I'm here. I'm gonna help. You have help now. So every night, Demeter bathed him in ambrosia and put him in the fire to make him a god. Apparently, that's how we make gods. You drink ambrosia, you go walk into a fire. Khaleesi had it straight. I'm gonna clip that. That's funny. So, curiously, when the boy's mother discovered it, Demeter revealed that she was a goddess, and the myth from the maiden well to this point, it is nearly the same as the Egyptian goddess Aset, for whom the Greeks called Isis. Which is another earth mother who created the seasons. So historians have determined that the Greek myth was influenced by the Greek myth influenced the Egyptian one, which is pretty cool if you think about it, because you're like, there is that notion of like a lot of these are similar, whether they're actually connected or not, which in some cases we do find connections. And so this is verified personal gnosis, by the way. We do tend to talk about that. Because they're historians, because there's actual research, it's verified personal gnosis. So, that's the story. And oops. So, the Elysian Mysteries. The Elysian Mysteries. They're also known as the Greater Rites, and they were held at Elysius. Now, those rites have been called the most important rituals of Greek society. Literally, thousands of people were initiated every year, But the initiates were very deliberately chosen. They were very carefully chosen. Potential initiates were required to undergo a preparation ritual, and you could even also go to the lesser mysteries to become purified if you wanted to join. I think it mentions this later on. Potential initiates were required to undergo a preparation ritual, and only for those who had not killed anyone, who were properly cleansed, pious, and inherently good. Those are the ones who are accepted. So your big differentiator here is don't murder. It seems pretty easy. I'm just saying. But if we're ever going to do a mysteries event, I think the next one should be we have to make everyone admit that they have not committed murder. So in order to be fully initiated, participants needed to experience the mysteries twice. 2 consecutive years in a row. And then they were admitted to the mystery cult. So the Elysian rituals were lauded by many people as life-changing. The details of the rites were kept secret by oath-bound participants, and if they revealed it, it could be punishable by law. Snitches get stitches, yo. Clipping that too. You heard it here, folks. Snitches get stitches. Alright, so the Elysian rites started with the several events in Athens on the 15th of Bodromion. Bodromion. I don't know, that's how I would say it. The first 5 days consisted of festivities, lessons to prepare the initiates, purification rituals such as cleansing in the sea, sacrifice of piglets, and on the 5th day, participants donned myrtle garlands and walked in a grand procession on a 14-mile journey. I'm gonna repeat that again so I can get the clip. So the Elysian rites started with several events in Athens on the 15th of the month of Bodromion. The first 5 days consisted of festivities, lessons to prepare the initiates, and purification rituals such as cleansing the sea and the sacrifice of piglets. On the fifth day, participants donned myrtle garlands and walked in a grand procession on a 14-mile journey. 14. That's a lot. It's a lot of miles. Then for 8 days, so they walked 14 miles in 8 days. They walked in sacred locations. Eventually, the initiates reached the maiden well on the outskirts of Eleusis, where priestesses sang and danced, and the initiates were purified with water. The first-year initiates may have been blindfolded here as well. I mean, that seems like a great idea. So when the skies were completely dark, the sanctuary doors to Eleusis opened. The participants walked by torchlight, silent, and perhaps with a chorus of singers. The priests and priestesses dramatically acted out the parts of the gods in the initiate's journey through the places mentioned in the Homeric hymn to Demeter. They even walked past the entrance to Hades. It's likely that the initiates helped Demeter search for Kore with torches, which of course the torches not only for light, but also dedicated to the goddess Hecate, who helped Demeter find Persephone, Kore. Before the climax of the ritual, the entrance into the largest temple, priests gave the initiates which it's a barley drink. Now there is the question of, was it a hallucinogenic? This is a really good question. Was Kaikyon, which is a barley drink, hallucinogenic for either in general? I imagine this only for the Elysian mysteries, but like, it's too far. But so the answer is like, probably not. Maybe, but probably not. So some scholars believe that Kaikion offered to the initiates was made with ergot. It's an ethnogenic fungus commonly found on barley and other grains. So it is a fungus that comes on barley. While scholars believe it's not likely whatsoever. The theory remains highly contested with respected scholars on both sides. So the amount of ergot needed to intoxicate the initiates would have been a huge amount. Basically, ergot is a little bit poisonous. And the side effect of ingesting high concentrations of ergot can include hallucinations, painful convulsions, and maybe even death. It is likely that the painful effects would have been commented on by people who attended the mysteries, and they can't find any information on it. Like, that feels like if they were in real like pain, like it would have had like, how do I explain this? When some, like, for example, in like modern day churches, they'll talk about someone like being possessed, and like writhing in pain and things like that. Or if someone is like channeling the spirit, right? And they're going through these like really painful, really jarring kind of situations where, yeah, they would be on the floor, they'd be making noises of pain, they'd probably be contorting their body. Those things would be notable, right? You would look on that and go, oh shit, glad that's not me, right? And that would be talked about. So, but the fact that historians haven't found any mention of that is why it's contested. Now the other thing is right here, the amount of ergot needed to intoxicate all of the initiates, because remember, this is thousands of people. Even if it's hundreds of people, that's still a lot. And it would have left a huge agricultural footprint, and there's really little evidence to back that up. So that's why they don't think it was hallucinogenic. That doesn't mean that, rather they don't think that they used it on purpose as a hallucinogenic. I wager it's very possible. I don't know how well ergot dissolves in or gets mixed in. I don't know how that would have been done. I would like to know more information about that, because if you've ever mixed like any sort of powder or put something in your drink, even if it's liquid, like, you know, like when they mix drinks at like a bar, some of them are heavier than others and they sink down to the bottom. So it's very possible that because it's a liquid, depending on how well it mixes in, that some people, in my opinion, this is pure speculation, could have gotten more of the ergot and less of the rest of the drink, thereby making their drink more concentrated and possibly causing side effects for them while others may have not. And it could be mild side effects, you know, like they got the hallucinogen part, maybe they fell asleep and had some cool ass dreams, who knows. And then they didn't get like the horrific pains and stuff, you know. It's very possible that it wasn't a well mixed drink. But yeah, so interesting. Ergot is associated with Demeter. The color purple is associated with Demeter, so that's fun. Did not know that. So you heard it from here. If you're a purple person, Demeter likes you, maybe. Maybe. So it's also possible that another herb was used, as they did discover an opium pipe in one of Demeter's sanctuaries in Cyprus. And of course, she's also associated with poppies, and poppies are what is used to make opium. So there. And then there's also always the placebo effect. That the expectation alone of imbibing a magical drink after a prolonged time of unfolding mysteries could promote an altered mind state like a placebo. There's also, you can also enter, I know that it's done, I haven't done it, kind of an altered mind state through breathing practices. So those things would probably not be something that would be on record, but there may have been physical things that they could have done to enter them in an altered mind state on top of the placebo effect, right? So the final stop of the Elysian rites was the massive Telesterion, an enclosed palace in one of the largest temples ever constructed in the ancient world. The Hierophant, which is Demeter's high priestess, which is, we're going to mention it's also known through tarot, was Demeter's high priestess, and he would speak the sacred words revealed the secret items to the initiates. One Oathbreaker reported that the big reveal was a sheaf of grain. So the next initiates came face to face with a priestess acting as Demeter. She crowned them with myrtle garland, which represents a peaceful victory. At Telesterion, which is the largest, they believe that that's where it was. And a lot of that, it occurred with all the initiates inside the Telesterion because it could hold up to 3,000 people. Because it was like the largest one, so it was like that was a choice. If you need to fit like 2,000 people, like you're not gonna go for a small apartment. You know what I mean? So the Elysian Mystery. I thought that was a part talking about tarot, but yeah, the Hierophant is also seen in tarot cards to this day. The Elysian Mysteries bound the people of Greece together. Look. Hellenism is not designed to be a solo practice. It can be. And a lot of people... one second. I gotta do something. Okay. So the Elysian Mysteries, right. All of the events, the festivals there were so many community events. And it's not that you couldn't practice on your own. You can, and you can still to this day, of course. But there's a strong... That's why we have so many festivals. Duly note, not everyone celebrated all the festivals. A lot of them were regional. And that's probably why we have so many. But yeah, it's a community, event. And it gave them like this transcendent firsthand experience of the gods, right? It's going to church on Easter or something. Demeter and Kor's relationship is one of profound love and closeness. And although many Greek goddesses had children, this particular relationship appears to be the only one of loving mother-daughter relationships in all of Greek mythology. So one of the important festivals that occurred all over Greece was the Thesmorphia, the 3-day retreat for married women and concubines. They camped out on Demeter's hilltop sanctuary, dug pits, and made offerings of piglets into the pits. But it wasn't all serious. They also told each other indecent jokes and baked bread shaped into snakes, and male genitalia were also sacrificed. It's thought that the festival helped transition girls into wives and promoted the fertility of women and the land. The name Thesmorphia relates to Demeter's epithet, Thesomorphos, or the giver. The lawgiver. So, Thesmorphos, lawgiver, which is really interesting, and I want to connect that over here to Zeus's epithets, which is, where's my Zeus's epithets? All right. So, where are his epithets? This one doesn't say his epithets. Darn it. Okay. So, Zeus's epithets were... I wish it was easier to look at. Where's the... Hold on. I know where to get it, where it'll be easier to read. The calendar. Of course. Where is it on my desktop? I know it's on my desktop. There it is. And then we can see the calendar. Yeah, Zeus. Okay. I want to zoom in. I was trying to zoom in. So Zeus's epithets is of the rain, dark, murky, of the thunderbolt, lightning, king, chief, ruler, supreme, most high, leader of fates, giver of signs. I know he also has another one that relates to laws. That's the one I was thinking of, but that's not in the common epithets on our list, I guess. So the reason I bring that up, right? Thesomorphos, lawgiver. Remember, Demeter had Kore with Zeus, the king of the gods, the one who is the lawmaker, the one who rules over all, right? It's interesting that she would have an epithet of lawgiver. And I want to note this because previously, although this is kind of the other way around a little bit, but we had talked about in chapters with Zeus where he would go and, for example, not he would go, but specifically when they were trying to expand the empire, the Greek Empire, one of the things that they did was they would bring Zeus in to fill in if there were deities of their city, of the area. They'd be like, oh, okay, so your deity is this person, and we're gonna put Demeter as an example here. Oh, okay, well now Zeus is this guy, like, and is the husband of Demeter. Zeus would literally take the place of an existing male deity, essentially, and would usually take that deity's name as a new epithet for himself, or rather that's the story that would be told. That's what they would do in order to kind of homogenize the empire, right? But they would keep the female goddess if the deity had a partner. And so it's interesting that Demeter did not show up with the original deities, as we mentioned. When did they show up in the Bronze Age? We set it up here. Yeah, in the Bronze Age. Come on, let's go. And the most powerful sanctuary was found around 1400 BC. So it's interesting when you think about this that Demeter was not part of the original team that showed up. And on top of that, has the epithet as an epithet that is associated with Zeus. Again, remember, Zeus and Demeter got together as horses and had Kore. I mean, I don't know, yay furries or something? I don't fucking know. In this story, they were, I believe, both consenting parties, which is good. And because Demeter wanted a daughter. So Demeter in this circumstance took on one of Zeus's epithets, right? Or one that would be normally associated with Zeus. This is 100% speculation here on this like epithet thing. But I would imagine that since we have that story of how they homogenized the the deities under the Greek pantheon when they took over. Demeter wasn't part of the original. Zeus came in and Demeter was like, suck. Even though Demeter was known as the child of the Titans, she arrived in Greece in 1400, right? Arrived. She was like, I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna work on myself. I'll come say hi later. Whatever. Peace. And then ended up with an epithet that belongs to Zeus. Really interesting, kind of backwards, like going in the opposite direction, it seems like happened, where Demeter took on an epithet of Zeus instead of the other way around. Whatever. So in 760 BCE, a severe famine ravaged the crop near Athens, and the people consulted the Oracle of Delphi, which we're going to talk about in the next chapter because the next one's about Apollo, who told them to make a sacrifice to Demeter for the harvest. It worked, and now every year they do offerings to Demeter. I would like to see if that still happens. I think they mention it in here that they do still do offerings to Demeter. By the way, for those of you who don't know, Hellenism is a recognized religion in Greece right now. It was recognized several years ago, and so like, yeah, awesome. I mean, it's still largely not Hellenic or Hellenist. Hellenism is not a large religion in Greece, but that's still pretty cool. All right, I'm gonna take a drink. Give me a second. Also, for anyone, I'm gonna put the link in the stream again. For the Discord server, if you are, you're from the Discord server, okay. But for anyone who's not, you can get the copy of this book from the HH Library. Very much big thanks to the resource committee for putting that together, organizing, and continuing to collect resources for the entire community. We have over 1,000 titles, guys. This is amazing and is more than any of us are going to read in our lifetime. That is so many books. And like articles and websites, other resources online as well. Well, we have a lot of PDFs, and this one is obviously one of them. The link to get it is in the pins of the book club channel. Of the books channel. I think I call it Books and Club. I can't remember. I spend more time in that channel than it's still one of my top 5 channels to hang out in. And I don't remember the own fucking name of it in my own fucking server. Great job, Victoria. Really, really, really doing a good solid here. So Demeter assisted in I want to highlight this too, actually. Demeter assisted in non-agricultural magic. So her name was found on several curse tablets. They were often from a woman who wanted to curse another woman who had done them wrong. So that's pretty, that is both interesting historically and fucking hilarious from a human perspective. Because like, I also want to know, this is just a weird fact. I know that in Pompeii, there's actual graffiti that's like, that is literally like, I think like I fucked your mother or something. It was literally an Yo Mama joke. It was, I died when I found that out. There's one that's telling someone that like that they are inadequate, quote unquote. And like, there's just tons of like, not tons, but there's a few really hilarious graffitis that were found in Pompeii. Pretty sure it was Pompeii. And it's just really funny, this as well, like this curse tab. But like, humans are humans. We've always been this way. So if you ever feel petty or whatever, just remember, Demeter was used on curse tablets. They asked a god for help being petty. I love this. Humans are humans. So don't feel so bad. Other magical requests for Demeter include, again, justice. Very much a Zeus thing, right? Although I do kind of get it because she was, chasing after her daughter. Punishments and curses for for others to feel illness or pain. I mean, personally, if I was working with Demeter, I would pray that their food went bad and they ended up with food poisoning. You don't need to kill somebody, you just need to make them suffer a little bit. And who better than Demeter? That's just me. Guys, if you ever had really bad food poisoning, it really is horrible. I've had food poisoning from meat, and I tell you, I don't like needles. I will avoid hospitals and doctors and needles like the plague. But I actually asked to go to the hospital. I was like, no, we need to go. This is the worst ever, and I have chronic pain. I have chronic illnesses. So like, add that on top of it, where I'm like, no, this is really bad. I need morphine. I need it right now, and I need them to give me an like, I could not eat for I think a day and a half, and I was constantly throwing up. It is suffering upon suffering. So, and the worst part is like, it's not going to kill you probably. Like, you'll be fine. Back then, it might have actually killed them. But now it's not. So, like, I mean, that's what I would use for a curse with Demeter. I'm just saying. So Demeter was also invoked for protection against witchcraft. I could definitely see that with Demeter, obviously being a mother who is very protective of her daughter, very protective of people. I could totally see that. I find it interesting that they capitalized witchcraft this time when they've said it before many times uncapitalized. I'm just saying. The Elysian Mysteries, again, one of my favorite pagan holidays, were very popular in many parts of the world. And people traveled long distances to take part in them. And this is also why we saw thousands of people at the Elysian Mysteries, right? The thousands of initiates. Because if people were like, oh, I totally want to go to I want to go to Burning Man. Oh, but you have to be invited. Like, whatever. Something like that. And you can go, but you have to be invited to be an initiate, right? So that totally makes sense, because if it was thousands of people in the local city, look, cities were not that big, okay, back then. They were not as big as they are now. But if you're every year having thousands of participants, you're eventually going to use up the pool, the local area. And of course, people talk about it because people said it was life-changing, right? So of course they would talk about it, and we get people traveling to take part. And again, this is one of those things that it really unified people. Even, and you have to think of it this way also, if this event was a life-changing experience, B, it was designed and helped unify people, we're not just talking about the local areas, we're talking about the greater expanse of the Greek Empire and beyond that, right? So that's amazing. That's like so crazy. Guys, I'm not a Burning Man girly. If you don't know what Burning Man is, it's an event. It happens in the desert. That's pretty much all I need to know about it. It's very steampunky, which is also cool. But for me, like, I don't want to be in the desert. I don't do well in, like, you know, a lot of heat. I need to be hydrated very well at all times, or I will be in considerable pain. And yet I still want to do Burning Man. Why? Because it's an interesting experience. It's very much of a community experience. Same thing, right? I don't necessarily enjoy the idea of traveling that far. I'm sure many people, I mean, it took them 8 days to walk a 14-mile hike, which is for the Elysian Mysteries, which is amazing because I know I could see it being doable, but like I would never want to do it. But people wanted to not only travel to get there, but then knowing that there's going to be things like that they're going to have to do. I doubt that they kept a secret that they would have to have a procession from one area to a different city and stuff, because they would probably need places to stay and stuff, or have, you know, supplies. So I feel like that part of it was probably not a mystery, right? We're gonna have to get pink after this. But so knowing that they were going to have to travel that far to get there, knowing that there was probably going to be physical activities, and they knew they were going to have to travel to places if they were part of the mysteries, they still wanted to go take part in this because of how life-changing and how much of an experience it was to be there. Like, I don't know, if I threw a party that good, I'd be pretty fucking proud. So in 395 CE, Elysium was sacked by Goths. By the Goths, who destroyed the temples, which lies in ruins to this day. Remember, the Goths were, they were, did they have a city thing? They were a group of people, but I'm not sure if they were from a particular city. Oh, they lived north of the Black Sea. And they were often referred to, there's another name besides the Goths. Scythians. And they would basically sack places. Yeah. So, but they didn't inhabit that region. They just were from there. So sad. There's something nice, and of course shitheads have to ruin it for all of us. Fuck them. So Demeter's rites are thought to have greatly influenced Christianity. This is interesting. Not a lot of people are gonna love this. When I read this part, I was like, oh. So, and again, like, at the same time, we also have Dionysus, who has a double birth story, who has many things that are in common with the story of Jesus. So, take that as you will. The most notable similarities include an earthly mother who conceived a child with a sky god. Remember, they were both horses at the time. They weren't gods. They were being something that is on earth. On top of the fact that, like, that's double on top of the fact that obviously Demeter is a goddess of the earth, right? Not the same as Gaia, though. So a child who was taken, sorrow for the loss, and then a reunion, right? Very similar. Very similar. Very interesting that there's that parallel. There's also hold on, I forgot to add this. Demeter's priestesses lived together in chastity and garden and may have been the predecessor, the precursor for Catholic nuns, right? these similarities between the religions to me are really interesting. Um, so Demeter, the title of Demeter's high priestess, the Hierophant, uh, lived on and became a title in the Catholic order, but also survives today. Here we go, as part of the major arcana within tarot decks. So next time you're reading the tarot deck, remember that the Hierophant is associated with Demeter. Now, until the removal of Demeter's statue from Elysis in the early 1800s, local villagers continued to give her garlands of flowers in return for a good harvest. So for ages after, like, Christianity took over, people were still worshiping and honoring Demeter. And that actually happened a lot of regions. They would continue to honor the gods for periods of time. Basically, the locals were like, look, we're not gonna not do this. And Christianity peoples who were there were like, fine, can you just say it's for our god or whatever? And they were like, yeah, whatever. So it's actually how we have Easter. We're gonna finish this here before the personal insights, and then I'm gonna take a break to grab a drink before we finish the last bit. So one of the oldest myths lives on to this very day, which is really fun because, of course, the Grecians, they can't help themselves. Ritualized sex still happens in the thrice plowed fields in many areas of Greece to secure Demeter's blessings on the crops. These days, which is really funny because the priestesses of Demeter were chaste. These days, Demeter is used in very like a motherly, parental kind of magic use, as well as to protect children from harm. She is also called upon in green witchcraft for growing plants and fungi. And Demeter can, of course, assist with accepting natural cycles like the seasons and the crops, part of us that bloom, mature, bear fruit, grow older, and die. She is a goddess of change. She is a goddess of transformation. She is a goddess of mothers. She's the goddess of protectors of young children, or of children. I love how our deities are so multifaceted, and so diverse in what they cover, and and also like law bear or something, and also how we can see how those things still kind of connect, right? Okay, I'm gonna put on a big thank you to our supporters while I get myself another drink to drink. I'm sorry, baby. I didn't mean to scare you. I knew you wouldn't like it. You don't have sweet receptors, Tempo. Alright, so, I don't do any highlights for the personal stories because they're personal stories, right? Where's the thank you? There we go. Alright, we are back. So we are at the tail end here. Like I said, I didn't highlight very much, about the personal stories, except for, this is a little prayer for Demeter, but we're gonna start talking about magic with Demeter. There is an abundance ritual here that they gave us that we could do. That's the only one that they gave us. So for this one, you would need several handfuls of grain kernels, a libation such as like honey, Again, also, wheat, olive oil, and wine. And of course, we always start by invoking the gods. And then you go on, we have these beautiful prayers here. It gives really nice instructions, really detailed instructions. I really like that. And we have all of our citations. Next week, we're going to be talking about Apollo. All right, everyone. I hope you had a wonderful time. Thank you so much for joining and contributing to the book club. We're going to be talking about Apollo next time, page 105.